let's go ahead and dive directly into the new changes for Season 1.5 here. We've got the balance post already pulled up. It says, Dear Rivals, we're excited to kick off Season 1.5 right away with some refinement to our superheroes and villains. As a reminder, players can look forward to comprehensive adjustments to team-up abilities beyond numerical tweaks starting in Season 2. Without further ado, let's get straight into the balance adjustments. Going into the Vanguard first here, we're going to have Captain America, and I'm just going to call it right now. I think that Captain America is going to be the new meta tank here in Season 1.5. So, the changes to Captain America, we have Steve will receive some enhanced survivability. His Vibranium Energy Saw will feel smoother, and his ultimate ability will be more attainable thanks to a reduced energy cost. He'll be able to shield himself with Living Legend Mid-Leap, which is awesome, which is something that he wasn't previously able to do. If you guys remember, when you jump up in the air, the only thing it would let you do is basically to do the dive down onto people. Now he's going to be able to shield himself while jumping, which is great. Increased Vibranium Energy Saw's projectile speed, which is the shield throw ability. The projectile speed went up from 60 meters per second to 80 meters per second, with ricochets ramping up from 100 meters per second to a supercharged 150. The bounces are gonna bounce like a motherfucker, and the initial throw is going to be slightly faster. Reduced energy cost for his ultimate from 3,100 to 2,800, so a very slight adjustment to his ultimate there. You're going to be seeing it a little bit faster. And then the final point says, enhanced Captain America's combat experience by separating Sentinel Strike from melee attacks. He will be able to use melee attacks with his shield while his shield is thrown, or during his team-up ability, Charged Aegis, to activate the first 2 hits of Sentinel Strike. So basically, the melee has been decoupled from the dive attack. Now you'll be able to jump up in the air and punch somebody in their fucking face if you wanted to. So big changes to Captain America. Faster ult charge is going to be huge. Faster ricochets is nice. It's a neat little quality of life exchange anyway. And then being able to shield yourself while jumping is just like, I mean, duh, dude. Why shouldn't he be able to hold his arm up while jumping? Like, you're telling me that the guy, a super soldier, can't lift his fucking arm while he's jumping up in the air? I don't know. It seems like a stretch to me, but I'm glad that they fixed that. Adjustments to Doctor Strange, a little bit of a nerf here. We got reduced base health from 650 down to 600. Will that make Doctor Strange fall out of the meta? Absolutely not. 50 HP is not that much. It will slightly reduce his effectiveness in combat, though, and that slight reduction should be enough to open up the floor for a few other tanks to be able to do their thing. We've got, for Groot, we'll be increasing the threat range of everyone's favorite Flora Colossus. The Thornlash Wall placement range goes up from 15 meters to 18 meters. And if you guys don't know, while playing Groot, there's this thing that you want to do when you have somebody that you're fighting, they're in front of you, right? Specifically the Thornlash Wall. You want to throw it up behind them, not just to break line of sight to the people that could potentially heal them, but because the melee attack from Groot will actually trigger the Thornlash Wall to Whomping Willow the shit out of people that it is next to. However, that does not work if you put the wall up and then it forms and the person is now behind the wall. It doesn't work the same, right? You need them to be actually there. You need to hit the melee attack before the wall will be like, oh shit, word, let's swing those vines around, right? So this is going to allow Groot to be able to place the wall easier when dueling somebody. Giving you this extra 3 meters allows you that additional space to be able to build the wall and trust that you will have enough time for the wall to come up before they are able to slip behind it. So anyway, for Magneto, it says the Master of Magnetism will experience a slight dip in survivability, but will be compensated with a small surge in offensive ability. The increased volley projectile damage from 35 to 40 is nice. However, the Metallic Curtain, which is your shift ability, your big shield that comes up, it's got an infinite amount of damage it can take, and it was previously up for 2 seconds, is now up for 1.5 seconds maximum. And that is going to make it more of a skill move. When you press the button, you bring up the Metallic Curtain, the big-ass wall in front of you that shields you and your teammates. You will now need to use it a little bit more skillfully to be able to capitalize on its defensive capabilities. For Thor, we have removed the shared cooldown time after the Awakening Rune ends, which is the E ability on Thor. It's F for me. At least I'm pretty sure it's E for you guys. The ability is the one where you start throwing the lightning bolts, right? You start chucking lightning bolts, and after that ended, it would trigger Thor's cooldown cooldowns on his abilities when he presses something that consumes Thor Force, it triggers like a 1.5 second cooldown. That will not happen anymore at the end of the Awakening Rune, which is really good because you're in the Awakening Rune for like 5 seconds before the cooldown actually activates, which feels really bad. So they're going to take that away, which is great. A little bit more offensive capability there for Thor. For Venom, we're going to see an adjustment to the knockback effect of the Frenzied Arrival, which just like Captain America, when he jumps up in the air, Venom can press the E ability, or F for me, and he can dive down onto the floor, right? The adjustment to the knockback effect, which is actually a knock up effect, is going to now pull them closer to Venom, which is great because Venom's right-click cellular corrosion, you know, like the umbilical cord that he attaches to everybody who's around him, when he dives onto people, instead of them going up in the air and being less likely to be attached by the umbilical cord, he will now be more likely to attach it. In addition to that, Venom is getting a reduction in his ultimate cost from 2,800 to 2,500. And if we go back up and we look at Captain America's again real quick, Cap goes down to 2,800 with this change. So Venom is going to be getting his ultimate even faster than Captain America, which means a good bit of additional survivability for Venom. Again, the Vanguards are seeing a little bit of a shakeup here. So with that, let's move on to the duelist role. This is the DPS characters here. We've got changes to Black Widow. Increase the magazine capacity from 8 to 15. I don't know who asked for this, bro, but like, I have never had a problem with the amount of ammo in Black Widow's gun, bro. Like, it literally has never come up. Not a single time have I ever been like, damn, you know what I really wish I had? 7 more shots in my sniper rifle. Like, it's nice and all, but is it so necessary that we needed the change? I mean, I don't really think so. However, that change is a compensatory buff for the nerf to her ultimate, which was previously slowing enemies by 80%. So you were moving at a 20% movement speed when you got hit with her, what is it called? So that I'm not talking out my ass here. The ultimate ability is called Electroplasma Explosion, which is not ever what you hear it referred to as, but that's what it's called. It's now going to slow you by 55%. However, it will apply a 15% vulnerability effect to enemies hit for 4 seconds. And what that means is that Black Widow will be able to one-shot any squishy to the head if they get hit by her ultimate. That's huge. That's actually massive for her. Not only does she still get the slow effect, which increases the viability of her kit overall because a slowed target is easier to shoot in the head, but the 15% vulnerability effect means that she will be able to one-shot the squishies without the damage buff from either a Mantis or a Storm. So you're going to see a lot more Black Widows getting one-hit kills in their ultimate or slightly after their ultimate has been popped. So that's good. Moving on to Hawkeye. It says we've got an increase of base health from 250 to 275, which I guess is cool. We're going to reduce the projectile damage of Blast Arrow from 20 to 15, but the spell field damage will go up from 25 to 32. So basically what that means is the direct impact will hit a little bit less hard, the explosion damage will hit a little bit harder, and this is literally a 2 damage change. However, because the explosion damage is going up, that means your AoE damage with the blast arrow is going to go up as well. I don't know who's out there using the blast arrow, but maybe someone will actually try it now, given the buff, you know? It's like ice cream at McDonald's, bro. You see it like once a year, someone will pop out and they'll have a vanilla cone, or like, you know, in this case, someone will pop out, they'll have a blast arrow equipped. Like, it just doesn't really happen, but you know, maybe now they will. They're also reducing the cooldown for his Crescent Slash, which is the thing that deflects strikes. It also knocks enemies back, if I'm not mistaken, and its cooldown is going from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. Cool, right? Awesome. Increase the bow draw speed during the duration of Hunter's sight, and raise the damage multiplier from 1.2 to 1.35. So basically what that means is Hawkeye's rapid fire in his ultimate is going to be a little bit better, right? And the way that you get the most value out of Hawkeye's ultimate is just to spam arrows as fast as you possibly can with no regard for your own safety, and try to shoot as many after images or people as you possibly can in that time frame. The damage multiplier on that is going up to 1.35, so a very slight damage boost. And in addition to that, you're going to be able to shoot arrows a little bit faster, which Hawkeye kind of sucks balls. So it's all right, I think, in my opinion, that they gave him this buff. That being said, he may be a menace to the flying characters in the game now. And then our slow falling characters like Hela and Namor as well are going to experience a little bit more times when they get taken out by Hawkeye, probably with these changes. Speaking of Hela, The Asgardian goddess of death will cast a longer shadow with an increase to her mid to long range suppression. She's now going to deal 80% of her maximum damage at 30 meters plus, which means that Hellas that are shooting from Narnia are going to hit a little bit harder than they previously did before. So that's good. Moving on to Iron Fist, these are some of the biggest changes of the entire patch. They're reducing the damage of Jeet Kune Do's first, second, and fifth strikes from 32 to 30, while the third and fourth strikes will deal 15 damage instead of 16, and the sixth strike is also going down in damage to 50 damage. So essentially, that's going to be a slight nerf to his primary fire damage. The cooldown reduction for Dragon's Defense has been extended from 1 second to 1.5 seconds. The parry can basically block anything, and that's what triggers the I swing my hand super fast move that kills everybody in quick play and in your ranked games where you have a really cracked Iron Fist. It's called Yat-Ji Chung Quen. It's going to go down slightly in damage. However, each strike delivers an extra hit, which is equivalent to 1.7% of the opponent's maximum health. So while you're going to see an overall decrease to the actual power of the hit itself, the secondary hit that deals 1.7% of your maximum health, Iron Fist is going from a striker that primarily focuses on your backline to a striker that not only can deal with your backline, although a little bit less effectively than he did in the Season 1 patch, he's going to be more effective against tanks now. So kind of like a mini Wolverine, if you can think of it that way. And he does hit very, very fast, which means that 1.7% of the maximum health will add up very quickly. I predict we're going to be seeing a lot of Iron Fist in this patch. He's going to be getting an increase to the maximum health granted by Harmony Recovery, which is his heal. It's going to go from 50 health to 150 health, and it's now going to deplete at a rate of 25 health per second. He's getting an increase to the maximum bonus health converted from damage blocked during Dragon's Defense from 150 to 200. You are now further punished for shooting him in the block, and his base health is also going up from 250 to 300. And I think that this is massive buffs for Iron Fist overall. For Iron Man, we are increasing the base damage of his Unibeam from 120 damage per second to 140 damage per second. And while he's in his overdrive, it's when he grows the things on his back, right? And then he uses his right click. The beam is going to now deal 190 damage per second, up from 180 damage per second. So a nice little buff there to Iron Man's base kit. However, he's getting a nerf to his team up with Hulk, which I just want to talk about very quickly. The team up Gamma Overdrive from Hulk, it used to be 220 damage per second. That is being nerfed down to 200 damage per second. So still an upgrade from his armor overdrive ability. He will be slightly less oppressive when there is a Hulk on their team. Again, like more of a balance than it is a buff or a nerf. Little bit of a nerf, little bit of a buff, but like the base Iron Man character is going to be better than he's ever been. So good on him for that one. We got a balance change here to magic. She's getting a decrease to her demon damage, going down to 72 damage per second, which means each initial hit from the demon will be, if I'm not wrong, 18 damage per hit. So 72 total damage per second. A little tiny decrease to her ability to damage people with the demon. That being said, the Darkchild ultimate is going down from 3,700 cost to 3,400 cost, so you'll see Darkchild a little bit more frequently. I think as far as roaming ultimates go, she's definitely one of the more balanced. So to get it a little bit more frequently, I think is a good change overall. Moving down to Mr. Fantastic, we're going to see an increase to the spell field radius after landing flexible elongation from 2.5 meters to 5 meters. So double the spell field radius for landing flexible elongation, and it will now feature a knockback effect, launching enemies outward with the area upon landing. So he flexes out his arms, puts them over your shoulders, pulls himself to you, and then pushes out his chest like this, right? And his chest gets all crazy, makes a funny sound. That will knock you back, and the radius of that will actually be 5 meters, so a little bit farther away than it previously was. It's going to launch you outward, and the recharge time for a single use is adjusted from 8 to 10 seconds to compensate for the new power. Just a slight difference in how often he can actually use it. They're also going to be increasing the damage of his ultimate from 50 to 70, and increasing the cost from 2,800 to 3,400. He's going to get it a lot less frequently than he previously did, which is a little bit crazy in my opinion, because the ultimate was like the shittiest ultimate in maybe the entire game. Like one of the worst ultimates ever, right? That being said, with a damage increase, 20 is actually a very significant increase to the overall damage. It's like a 30 to 35% increase in damage. So potentially you might see a lot more kills with the ultimate itself. Additionally, they're going to be adding a new damage decay mechanism for when it's introduced. The spell field damage will begin to decrease at 3 meters and reach a maximum reduction of 50 at 10 meters. So it's going to hit up to 10 meters away from where he actually landed. So a little shockwave coming out from Mr. Fantastic when he does his boing on the ground, right? Like he yells fantastic and then he turns into a giant whoopee cushion, right? And he slams himself into the ground over and over again. He looks stupid as hell, and it basically did nothing before. It's now going to deal a little bit more damage with the damage that it previously dealt, hitting up to 10 meters. So for Moon Knight, we've got changes to the Hand of Khonshu ultimate. It's going to be basically dealing more damage for each individual hit. However, you'll be far less likely to be hit by 2 hands at the same time, which is like the double damage with the Moon Knight ultimate in Season 1, where everybody thought, oh, this must be bugged, it's dealing double damage. In reality, what was happening is you were getting hit with 2 hands very quickly. However, now they've corrected the damage trigger, and to compensate for that, have increased the damage to double what it was before. So if you get hit by those hands, you're still going to get absolutely chunked down. However, now you won't be wondering whether or not you got killed by a bug or whether or not you got killed by the actual ultimate itself. Scarlet Witch is getting a small boost to her survivability in the ultimate. Rather than decrease the time that the ultimate actually activates, which was a lot of people's suggestions, myself included, they decided to give her 100 bonus health after activating the ultimate instead, which do I think that will be enough to keep Scarlet Witch alive in her ult? 90% of the time, I'd say no. You know, I don't think that is enough to be able to stop us from just killing her. As soon as we hear the word pure, we are all looking at her and shooting her in her face. Is 100 bonus health going to make the difference there? Probably not, but every now and then it might. For Spider-Man, we're slightly reducing the web cluster cooldown to increase his offense. So the web cluster is his right click, which allows you to put the spider tracer onto people, and that's getting a reduction in the charge time from 3 seconds down to 2.5 seconds. So he's going to be able to shoot his alternate fire a little bit more often. For Star-Lord, we are seeing an increase to his maneuverability. His mobility is going up significantly by about 50%. He's going to get about 50% more time in his rocket boots, which is kind of crazy because I already felt like it was pretty generous with the amount of time that you were able to boost, and this just makes his neutral game even better. So big W's for Star-Lord and for Star-Lord mains out there. For Storm, we've got some tuning adjustments here, which are on a downward trend, essentially. So the damage fall off for Windblade at 30 meters is going from 70% of the damage that it would normally deal down to 60% of the damage that it would normally deal. Not too much, but enough to change certain breakpoints with certain characters. You're going to see more people surviving through 1 extra Windblade. They're also reducing her damage buff while using her weather control from 16% to 12%, but the increase for allies is going from 8% to 10%. So when she's using her lightning aura, she herself is going to deal less damage, but her allies are going to deal slightly more. And again, this is just tuning the numbers around Storm so that while she's still very good, she's not as overtly powerful herself, right? So that's going to give everybody a little bit of breathing room. That's going to let everybody just play the game a little bit more while Storm is around. We're also reducing her damage increase from the enhanced version of her lightning aura from 30% to 25%. Again, reducing Storm's effectiveness on her own, increasing the damage effectiveness of her allies. Still a really good character, and even better when you consider her team up with the Human Torch. I used it for the first time earlier. I was playing Human Torch. I had a teammate that was using Storm, and I'm just gonna say, holy shit, bro. Holy shit. This thing is crazy, dude. We team wiped their squad when we comboed those 2 ultimates. Moving on into the strategist role, got some big buffs for Adam Warlock coming in. Adam's damage capability will be enhanced, along with a slight increase in healing after activating Soul Bond. So you're going to see an increase to his primary fire, the quantum magic going from 55 to 60 damage. When you were at 40 meters before, you were dealing half damage on your primary fire. You're now going to be dealing 60% damage on your primary fire, which means that Adam Warlock is going to be stronger now than he's ever been, more capable at taking out the flying characters in the game as well. Again, this is another one of those heroes that are going to be very good against the Human Torch, very good against Storm and Iron Man. You're also going to be seeing an increase in the healing amount provided by Soul Bond from 10 per second to 15 per second, which is going to just make it a little bit easier to survive when you do hit that Soul Bond ability, and that healing over time does make a big difference. With Cloak and Dagger, let's just read it real quick, because there's big changes here to Cloak and Dagger. Survivability and healing ability during the activation of their ultimate will be increased, while the frequency, duration, and intensity of the ultimate is reduced. Additionally, Tyrone's threat level will be enhanced. So, let's talk about it. The increase to the energy of her ultimate has gone from 3,400 to 4,000. What that means is she will be getting ultimate less frequently than she ever has before. That being said, it's still the fastest charging ult, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. However, 4,000 from 3,400 is a massive nerf in the amount of time that you're going to have with this ultimate coming online. The healing amount of each segment is increased from 220 to 250 healing per second, which sounds great until you find out that the duration is reduced from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, and the healing effect will no longer stack. So when overlapping, only one healing effect is applied, which encourages you to spread out the damage and healing field of your Eternal Bond ultimate as much as you possibly can. Now, the time between pauses when using the ultimate has been decreased by 33%. I was using it earlier, and I'm telling you, you will see a vastly different experience when facing against a Magneto. Using your ultimate versus a Magneto ult in Season 1 was basically a death sentence. You were asking to be killed with Magneto's big meatball, right? Like, you hit your ultimate, and then you dash, and then Magneto goes, "Fear, Magneto!" And he summons the big cloudy with a chance of meatballs right up in the sky, and then as soon as you pause for a second, Magneto goes, "Hoo!" and he throws that shit, and you blow the fuck up, right? That probably won't happen anymore. It is that fast. It is super duper fast, and the camera control during the ultimate has been unlocked to allow you to reposition a little bit faster, and that will allow you to spread the ultimate around, and that is necessary for the time that you have in between dashes. Where it was previously locked in the direction that you were facing, and then you could spin your camera, you don't have time to do that shit now. You need to be looking in the direction you want to go next as soon as you stop dashing, because it will send you wherever you are looking before you have a chance to react. So, a big change to the ultimate here. But the damage cape, the terror cape, when you go into cloak form, you send out the darkness wall, right? And it hits people, it makes them vulnerable, is going up from 20% damage to 28% damage, and that's huge. The amount of breakpoint changes that are going to happen because of the terror cape are going to be massive. Like, well, I thought we were going to see a lot less Cloak and Dagger in the meta moving into Season 1.5. Looking at these changes, I would not expect to see a decrease to her plague time at all. Moving on to the Invisible Woman, we're seeing her ultimate ability nerfed in terms of the charge time from 4,000 to 4,300. So now you're seeing the Cloak and Dagger nerf took her to 4,000. So she's now going to generate her ultimate as fast as the Invisible Woman did before. The Invisible Woman now losing a little bit of that charge time in her ult. Very slight change, but significant nonetheless. For Loki, we're seeing his ultimate nerfed pretty heavily from 3,400 charge time up to 4,000 charge time, which is the same as the Cloak and Dagger ult. So you're gonna be seeing Loki used a fair amount, and his increase to his primary fire ammo is going from 10 to 12. That is to balance out the change in his ultimate cost. The change in his ultimate cost is actually very significant. From 3,400 to 4,000 is an enormous nerf. So that you're looking at like a 20% less often Loki ultimate coming online. He made the triple support meta pretty oppressive, so I'm not surprised to see these changes at all. For Luna Snow, we have an increase to her ultimate charge time from 4,000 to 4,500. So the most powerful support ultimate now has the longest charge time, which I believe it probably did before anyway, but now every support's ultimate is going to be coming up a little bit less often, with the exception of Mantis, who in my opinion was the most balanced team support ultimate in the past anyway. Mantis, 0 changes to her. Moving into the team up abilities, we have the Atlas Bond, which is the team up ability with Iron Fist and Luna Snow. So the healing from Frozen Chi is going up from 50 to 75, so a 50% increase in the healing that it deals overall, and the slow effect is going from 20% to 30%, so just a large buff for this team up with Iron Fist. So that's good. For the team up with Magic, Black Panther, and Psylocke, you're seeing a reduced rewind time for the Psionic Disc, which is the team up ability. Essentially, they would use it, they would teleport back in time to the place that they were, and it would give them bonus health based on the number of hit points they had when they used the ability. The whole thing will happen faster, from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, and the conversion of blue armor, which is like how much additional health you got based on where your hit points were, is going up pretty significantly as well, from 0.5 to 0.8. So you're going to see a large increase in the amount of bonus health that you get from this ability compared to how it used to be. So both Psylocke and Black Panther are eating good with this change. This is the Iron Man change we talked about earlier. Gamma charged with the Gamma Overdrive ability, 220 damage per second previously, going down to 200 damage per second. However, the bonus team up with Hulk, being the anchor of it, is going to reduce his bonus health from 150 to 100. So a slight nerf to Hulk, but only with the team up to Iron Man, which is like arguably the most powerful team up in the game prior to this season 1.5 patch. So I'm not surprised to see a little bit of a tuning to it. We have the Lunar Force combo, which is the team up with Cloak and Dagger and Moon Knight, where previously it would drop the invisibility globe on the ground and Moon Knight would be able to stand in it and be like, haha, you don't know where I am, except you probably do because I'm standing inside of this globe and stuff is coming out of it, right? Like the Moon Knight projectile is coming out of it, but you definitely don't know I'm here, you guys. It's been changed. So basically inside of that, Moon Knight will be able to heal himself for 25 health per second while inside of the area of effect, which is arguably better than the invisibility effect that it previously gave. Now, it doesn't say anything about that, so as far as I know, you're still going to get the invisibility, which gives Moon Knight a little bit of a fleshed out kit there. I think that's a decent buff. This ability kind of sucked balls prior to this, so I'm glad to see them change it for the better. And then finally, we have the Symbiote Bond, which is the Venom Anchor, Penny Parker, and Spider-Man team up, where they get to press a button, and then they shoot the symbiote spikes all out from their body, right? Dealt a pretty good amount of burst damage. It helped with the one-shot combo for Spider-Man, where he could hit you with his spider tracers, pull himself in, do the uppercut, and then press the symbiote ability, and the symbiote ability would finish you off if you were a squishy target. They're now going to be reducing the duration of this from 4 seconds to 1 second. It used to give you a 50% damage reduction. It's now going to give you full invincibility during that time. And what that means is that you're now going to be able to use it to completely make yourself immune to certain burst damage abilities. So we're talking about the Whale from Namor, the Maximum Pulse, to the like Psylocke Ultimate, like anything that deals large burst damage to you, you're now going to have iframes to be able to keep yourself alive. With Penny Parker, they're reducing it from 4 to 2 seconds, so a 50% cut. So you're going to have just a little bit more time with Penny Parker to be able to make yourself immune to damage. And as well, it does deal a decent amount of damage itself, so you can still use that as part of your damage rotation and potentially snag a cheeky combo to essentially one-hit somebody. Don't forget that we are streaming every day at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, both on Twitch and on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube at Dude No Way Live and on Twitch at Dude No Way Gaming. Come hang out with us.